Hey now, it's your Brother Marcus with another edition of interviews, of course, on the Elements of Inspiration Brother Marcus podcast. And today, you know, I always bring you the best guests on this side of the globe, whether they're celebrities, whether they're people of interest, or where I'm giving you the Element of Inspiration Brother Marcus quicker picker-uppers. We have a gentleman who has been doing a lot of great things in Philadelphia. Even with his family, he's been doing some great things. And without any further ado, everybody, I'm going to allow him to do what he does best. But ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, show some love, and pay very close attention to the one and only Dr. Stephen Jones. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. Now, I've known you for a lot of years, right? A lot of years.
A lot of years.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you're an author of many books, and there's so much to you, Dr. Jones. I don't even know where to start, but we're gonna start. So, all right, let's do this. In your earlier life, right? You know, where did you grow up, and you know, where did you grow up, and you know, what was your childhood like?
Oh, absolutely, good question. Philadelphia, born and raised, down the bottom, West Philadelphia. Growing up with 6 children and 2 parents, home.
Wow.
We were there around 40th and Brown, Belmont Elementary School, Salisbury Middle School, University City High School. So I'm definitely a Philadelphia person through and through. All those years in the community. And actually, we had a organization called the Young Great Society, which was like a community organization, athletics and so forth. I played football, and then I just really got into the community and helping young people and making sure that we all pursue some really good educational goals outside of our, you know, our ideas of being sports professionals, that we would, you know, have our education as a priority as well. And so that kind of carried into my college experience, that you know, I've decided I really want to do something back in my community once I graduated from college. And so, you know, all those early years between that, certainly being a person in the church as well, and a lot of the youth programs and activities within the church, gave me a full life early on.
Yeah.
But also I grew up in a neighborhood that, you know, there were drugs there was, you know, gang wars there. So I praise God that I'm alive these days, even more so, that I'm able to do what I'm able to do around helping young people.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that interested me years ago when we met. But I still want to dig into your early life just a little bit. Now, you came from a 2-parent household, which a lot of us don't share that story. But, you know, what were the values that your parents instilled in you that guided you to, you know, where you are today?
Well, first of all, love for God, you know, and making that a priority in my life. So early in my life, I accepted Christ as my Savior. So that my mother was an elder in our church. Actually, she was the founder of the church that I attended, Gates of Heaven Pentecostal Church. And then my dad was a deacon in the church, and they along with several other their associates, then developed this church, and then that sprang out to 2 other churches. So we were in church all the time.
Listen, I know that's right.
I tell people today, like, you have no idea how much church we did compared to how much church you do today.
Oh man, today it's really like, we won't get into that. That's another topic for how churched are you. But, you know, watching your father, you know, he was a deacon in the church, watching him, you know, do what he was doing. And I know that he worked several jobs because that's the kind of person that he was. He had like a powerful work ethic, you know. And, you know, how did that affect you growing up watching your dad?
Oh, that's something that is so important to me in my foundation, that I always saw him working 2 jobs. He worked, you know, part-time in the evenings, but he also had a full-time job working in supermarkets during the day. So I got to see him, you know, spend that time. But he also, in that wherever he can make time for us, would do that as well. So I'm appreciative that he just didn't work.
Yeah.
But he showed up at some of our events where he could, for sure. And then he modeled what it means to be a man, what it means to love a wife unconditionally. They were married for more than 50 years, so I got to see that example of how through the good times and the challenging times, how you're able to get through that. And I've been able to take that model and use it within my own marriage in terms of persistence of the marriage. Is our 38th year of marriage.
Wow.
So it's
38
great
years.
to know that. Yeah, 38 years. So
Man.
just knowing that. Yeah. It's funny. So sometimes when I meet with some of the parents that I work with, and they have, teenage children, and they're 38, I'm like, wow, you weren't even born when I got married.
That is very unique when we see things shifting and we start to become more seasoned in life. And then we look back and say, wait a minute, what is going on? Now, we talked about your dad a little bit and what you've learned from him. I want to know, a little bit about your mom. What did you learn from your mother? What role did she play in your life?
Yeah, so she, again, really loving. She really had a passion for God, and I think that passion showed up through how she served. Not only did she serve us as children, she invited the community into our home. So she also reached out and counseled a lot. I saw her counseling people all the time, counseling couples, counseling individuals. Even when she was sick and in the bed, she would still call up people and counsel. I was always amazed at that. I'm like, you're not feeling well, but you're calling somebody else to counsel or to encourage them. And so that was a great role model to me, to know that, no matter what your condition is, you can still minister to somebody, you still can encourage and motivate somebody, even in your own circumstance. So I saw that a lot of the years of her life, she experienced different types of sicknesses. But in the midst of that, just having the joy of God, and she loved to sing. So she would do that as well. So we just enjoyed having her as a mother, having her as a guide, full of wisdom, a lot of wisdom that we could tap into. Because, we made a wrong decision. It was our decision.
Right.
She was going to give us some wisdom.
Oh, absolutely.
What to do.
That's what any good parent would do. And I'm going to try to talk to you about your children in a little bit, but I still want to, because I want people to see the authenticity of who Dr. Stephen Jones is. Like, you are one of 6 children, and being one of 6, where do you fall in?
I'm kind of right in the middle. There are actually 2 younger and 3 older. So kind of somewhat in the middle. Yeah,
so the middle child is always the unique one.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like the leverage in conversations between the older parts of our siblings and the younger parts. I'm the bridge.
Oh, okay, good. The bridge over troubled waters.
Yes,
now,
sir.
What early early childhood challenges shaped your determination to succeed?
So a while ago, I was looking through some old report cards. And apparently they wanted to put me in special ed. And my parents were like, absolutely not. You will not, you need to just spend more time with them. And I'm just, whenever when I read that, when I read that, it was just so amazing to see where I'm at today and what could have happened had they just let them put me there.
Yeah. Wow. It's something how people will see something and they'll, assume, and not give you, or like today, we see a lot of people that are, just not protecting the children and saying, look, let the child learn. The child has a different way of learning, and every person is different. Everybody has a different learning style. So with that, who are your biggest influences outside of your family?
Oh, well, certainly my pastors, one of the pastors, Pastor Calvin Thomas, and it's interesting because he had, I think, 4 boys and 1 girl. So our families kind of we're always connected because of the age. One of his sons is the same age as I am, and so just spent a lot of time with his family as well. And then also in the community, Dr. Herman Rice with the Young Grace Society and that community organization that I mentioned was definitely a role model in my life. So I spent a lot of years, same kind of thing. They had, I think, 5 boys and 1 girl. So we had family connections just by the sizes of our families as well. Yeah. But he was over in Mantua, really fighting against crime, developing housing programs, recreational centers, and organizing football and baseball teams, athletic teams. So there was a lot of different positive things that he developed in the community. So he definitely was one of those role models to look up to and follow.
And I think that's amazing because we become products of our environment to a certain degree. And you had a lot of people that were influential, that were doing things in the community. Your mom, she was, a mother who loved God. Your dad was a deacon in church and he worked 2 jobs. So you come from seeing certain things around you where failure is almost like not even an option. You know what I mean? And so that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. So now let's get down to like education. What motivated you to pursue, higher education at a university? Like you could have took a trade or something like that. And I'm putting this in the parenthetic because they said you had a learning disability. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What made you?
I think, again, seeing first some of the young people that were involved and connected with myself going off to college, that was, inspired me to say, hey, I can do it. I see others who can do it. But also, I always wanted to be a scholar athlete, not just an athlete. And I don't know where that came from. But I didn't want to just be an athlete. I wanted to be a scholar. I wanted to be the top of my graduating class.
Wow.
That just so it made me competitive from that perspective. I'm competitive academically. I'm competitive as far as my athletics. And then my desire to have my own community center. That drove me to say, hey, if I'm going to do this community center where I'm serving students and making sure that they're getting the tutoring that they need and support after school, then I'm going to need more education than just finishing high school. So I'm going to need the skill to develop this center and implement this center. Yeah. So I think that was my additional drive because I had a vision for that in the community. I saw one of the centers that we kind of had in the community, but I wanted to build something bigger.
Yeah, and I think that really just goes to show, the authenticity of who you are, because you could have easily just gotten your education and just kind of moved on. But the important focus that you've put all your focus on in your studies, let me put it that way, was Peoplenomics. What in the world? Peoplenomics. Am I saying that right?
That's right.
Tell me about Peoplenomics for those who don't know.
Yeah. Peoplenomics is just bringing, looking at the person from all perspectives: social, emotional, intellectual, economic, all those together. That they're not just the one person that you see. There's all kinds of impacts on their life. And we need to look at the total dynamic of that and try to address it the best way that we can. So if we want to come out of the economics that we're in, we have to have people that are concerned about other people, not just people that's concerned about themselves and what they can get out of society, but people that want others to benefit.
Yeah, and I believe that's the big deal there, and like, for example, I call you, I call you my academic doctor because you're super smart. I know you're smart. And so with your academic journey, what shaped your leadership philosophy for you personally?
Well, I feel really blessed that now I have to go my athletic route to bring that into the conversation, because I think a lot of the people who are leading the different football teams saw the leadership in me. And although I wasn't the most rowdy person on the team, they always made me captain of the team.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I was amazed at that they saw the leadership in me and that people would follow. And you can be, both a quiet leader and a loud leader. But
Mm-hmm.
I would say I'm more so in the middle. But yeah, that was the early cultivation. And then I actually started my own little community organization, led that. We had the Belmont Youth Association near me, and then I started something with young people in that community as well. So again, I led that initiative, and then I was able to get those young people involved in other kinds of activities as well.
Yeah.
So I think, again, just early in life, great parents that said, hey, we see you as a leader. We see you going to college. That was always something they told me as well. And I think that's why I don't know whether you're familiar with the Gear Up program. When the Gear Up program came along, and they were encouraging young people to go to college in the middle school, I thought it was such a great idea because they were saying that a lot of parents in middle school were telling their kids, I don't have money for you to go to college, so don't think about college.
Right.
So the Gear Up was designed to break down that barrier, even in the minds of the parents, that, hey, there'll be, if they do well academically, there's going to be some university that will want them, and we're going to ensure that they have support so they can get to that place. But don't be the parent that says you can't go.
Right.
So turn that whole thing around, the whole conversation around, I think was really important.
Mm-hmm. No, a lot of people, like you said, there are a lot of folks that want to go to college that feel that they can't go, and there was a certain time where parents were telling kids, "Oh, you can't go." So that's kind of like one of those hard, rough challenges in life. How did you face, challenges in pursuing your degrees?
Well, I was the first person in my family to go to a 4-year college, and so that was big because I had no idea what to expect, amount of work that would be required. When I was in high school, I basically memorized everything, and I was able to get good grades through doing that. But when I got to college, I found that it was the application of knowledge that they wanted, not just the memorization, but how does this apply? How can you use this as a tool? Mm-hmm. It took me the first year to really learn that, to understand that, that it wasn't just memorization. In the first semester, I was not at the 2.0 level.
Wow.
Because one of the classes that I had, I didn't fail it, but I didn't get the best grade in it.
Right.
So the one thing that I learned is that there are counselors on the college campus, and go to the counselor and get help. Mm-hmm. And then, the second semester I had over a 3.0 GPA. So it was just not knowing. And one of the things I work with students these days is just to make sure that their pride doesn't get in the way of them going to get help.
Right.
Because a lot of times, like if I'm going to get tutoring, I'm a weak student, but guess what? The students who are getting A's, they go for tutoring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I remember going to college and, getting tutoring and creating like study groups and stuff like that. But so that brings me to this here. What as far as, your teachers, you know what I mean? Like, because I know you said one of your classes you didn't do well in. Were there any teachers that encouraged you, to work towards your academic success so that you can have, these powerful, positive academic achievements? Was there anybody that said, Mr. Jones or Steven, whatever they call you in school, I'm going to take you up under my wing and we're going to learn you something? Was there any people like that around?
Oh, yeah. Back then, and I'm going to talk about Belmont Elementary School, just right down the street from where I attended. Mm-hmm. Back then, teachers who could have been engineers and physicians and lawyers and so forth, a lot of them went into teaching because they weren't encouraged to go into other professions. So we had in our school some of the top teachers who had not gone into these other professions because they were pushed into teaching as opposed to that. So, Mr. West. I could just go on. Ms. Ford. There's of these teachers that were just excellent. Now, some of them pushed us a lot. I mean, they challenged us, and sometimes we didn't appreciate it then. It's kind of like your mother say, "Well, you don't understand right now, but someday you will understand." I can say that. Some of our teachers really pushed us, and I didn't always appreciate it then, but I appreciate it now. I appreciate that they had the foresight to know what they would need to equip me to be successful. And they were persistent with that. And we had, I think, those who were doing teaching as a profession and career back then. So, they would actually work in a school 20, 30 years.
The thing is, because, we know education is what it is, nowadays, and it's a good thing to have education. But what advice would you give to students who feel education is kind of like out of their reach? I know we kind of touched on it a little bit more, but this is really what you know best. Like, when people say, hey, I'm a student, I think, going to get a degree is so far-fetched because of what is it that Dr. Stephen Jones does to kind of change that perspective?
So one of the things that I do have students do is a career test. Just so that, because there are a lot of free career tests on Google. You just put in free career test. And just taking that test to see what areas of interest you might have.
Right.
Because a lot of times students start college and they're totally not clear on what they want to do, and they get discouraged because they can't see or make the connection between what they're learning and how they're going to use it in the profession. So I think doing some of that research early on to get some exposure and ideas of what your interests might be is really important. These after-school programs, I think, are awesome ways to get a lot of knowledge. With the federal government, a lot of the programs I'm not even sure they're around anymore, but Upward Bound, Gear Up, Talent Search, all those pre-college programs that are available to help students with their career decision-making, professional development, and just exposure. A lot of them have these college tours that you can go on as a way to get familiar with all the different universities. I know a lot of the college tours go up and down the East Coast. And parents and send their children on the bus with other parents, and they just tour up and down the East Coast. But the second thing is there's a college for you. And I say that sometimes, students, yes, can go into a 4-year college. Sometimes they need to go into a 2-year college. But the main thing is making sure it's affordable for you and your family.
Exactly.
Because a college can't operate unless it's accredited. And sometimes trying to go to a more expensive college, you can afford it for 1 year. But the second year, certain scholarships that you have go away. And then you end up not having enough money for the second year at that institution. So you do have to make a realistic sit-down assessment of what you have, what's available to you. Because these colleges can cost anywhere between $25,000 and $100,000 these days per year, not per 4 years, per year.
Yeah.
The cost is amazing.
Now, what inspired you to dedicate over 37 plus years to education? What was it that really pushed you to say, I need to do this?
Well, I just saw so many students who were dropping out, and I didn't want that to continue to happen. I was fortunate when I came out of college to be hired to be an assistant director of what's called the Act 101 program. The Act 101 program is for first-generation low-income students who want to go to college, but they may not have the highest SAT. And this is a Pennsylvania program. I need to make that clear. And over in Jersey and New York, they have another program called EOF or EOP. Same kind of concept, first-generation low-income student going to college may not have the highest SAT, but good grades. They show good evidence of that. Most of these programs have a summer program that you have to attend for 4, 5, or 6 weeks as your introduction to college life. And also, they do an assessment during that program to say, hey, these are the classes you should take, these are the classes you shouldn't take, or if they believe that you should take a reduced course load, they make that recommendation as well. And then the other part of the program is sometimes they would say start off at a community college, and then we'll accept you, coming back to our college. So they're trying to, again, make sure that you're not coming in and you're really, really not prepared.
Right.
The community college is a way to do it without the tremendous cost. I had a student that the parent wanted her to be in one of the universities I worked at, and I felt that the student should go to a community college because based on how they did the summer and the classes that they took and the grades that they got. Unfortunately, the university accidentally sent them an official admission letter rather than contingent upon you completing community college. So the student came to the 4-year college and didn't pass the first semester. So, so the parent blamed the institution and gave him another chance. And then he was given another chance and he failed the second semester. So that was the end of that.
Wow.
But, you need to come in at the right level of readiness and also having that willingness to get help when you need it. I just talked to a student today, working on his time management and study habits and completing assignments, and finding that I do find that sometimes when students get behind, they get further behind because it's like, oh, I'm so far behind, I can't do what I need to do in that class, and now I'm further behind in the next class. So it's like a cascading effect.
Yeah.
So, just sometimes just needing to have that person to talk to help them get out of that spiral that they're in and come out of that spiral on top rather than on the bottom.
Yeah. And so, a lot of people want to know, inquiry minds want to know, what made you continue to press forward and want to start to do something for students, a little more than just kind of talking with them and seeing them through? What motivated you to write your educational workbooks?
Well, actually, in the program, we had a book called The Master Student. It was a 400-page book on how to study. Mm-hmm. And I would use it year after year, but I kept saying in the back of my mind, like, this is too much information. I need something that's more, reduced and much more readable than this book.
Right.
And so I said to myself, well, I'm going to write a book myself. I'm not going to wait for somebody to write it. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of, in a whimsical way said that. And, but then I just sat down one day and I said, okay, here's going to be the name of the book and what are the major topics? And I just started writing what are the topics. And I tried to write 1 page a day, 2 pages a day. Mm-hmm. And within a year, I wrote the first book, 7 Secrets of How to Study.
Wow.
And that was back in 2004. Mm-hmm. And I've had several editions since then of the same book.
Well, let's talk about how many editions of the same book, and if there's any other books that you've written, how many do you think you have right about now?
Right. So I have 5 books. The first one is The 7 Secrets of How to Study. And one thing I will say that's new in these books is I have a podcast called Education Central. And in that podcast, I put certain topics that are related to the book. So, for example, in the study skills book, I have time management. Now I have a QR code in that section that they can listen to me talk about time management, along with reading what's inside the book or writing what's inside the book. If they're reading a section on test taking, they can listen to me talk about test taking in my podcast. So I've done that for the 7 Secrets of How to Study. the Parents' Ultimate Education Guide, which is a book specifically for the parents, birth through 12th grade, how do I help my child do well in school? And then the Ultimate Scholarship Guide is how do you find money to pay for college? What are the resources? Where do you find the websites? I have over 100 scholarship websites in the book. So it's just a really great resources for finding money. Really popular book that has helped a lot of families to kick off their scholarship search. And you don't have to wait until senior year to start looking for scholarships. As soon as your student gets into high school, that's when you should be looking for scholarships, keeping a log of information on scholarships, going to scholarship night at the school, or any kind of college night at school, going to those. So use the 4 years that your child is in school to gather as much information as you can. With that. The other two books are more Bible based because I am a minister. One called The 10 Keys to a Successful Marriage, and also The 7 Secrets of How to Study the Bible.
Wow. And you're always, since I met you even, years ago, you've always been about helping, pushing people and pulling the better part of who they are out. And so that's one thing that I've experienced, knowing you. I want to talk about, you've been married for many years. And so I want to talk about your wife. I want to talk about your children. Let's talk just for a moment. Is she an educator? What does she do?
She is the love of my life.
That part right there. You don't have to say nothing else. That's it. So a little story. We met in undergrad school at Widener University. I went off to Howard for graduate school. Widener became too expensive for her. She ended up coming to Howard. I told her, I say that she chased me, she was over there. But anyway, so we connected again at Howard, ultimately developed a relationship, and she got a nursing degree from Howard University, and I have my master's in education from Howard University. Wow.
So we had both the predominantly white experience and the historically black experience. So I loved Howard a lot and had some great experiences there. So she has been a nurse for 41 years, and she just retired a week ago.
Wow. Congratulations, Mrs. Jones. Wow.
But she has been critical care, intensive care. She's worked the floor, traveling nurse when they didn't have GPS. She had maps. She used maps to get around. We didn't have cell phones, so we used pay phones to stay connected. So she's been involved with just nursing the whole family. Whenever the family has any health issues, she's the one that everyone calls.
Yeah, go to mom. Go to auntie.
Yeah.
Now,
she is the one.
Yeah. Now, you have 2 children, as I recall.
I do.
All right. And so let's dig into, who they are. Because I know every time I talk to you, we have good conversation, and you say, my daughter's doing this, my son's doing this, and so I want you to kind of tell a little bit about them.
Absolutely. So my son is the oldest. We live in Springfield, Delaware County. He attended high school out here. Just wonderful. We had those people who are extroverts, wonderful extroverts. That's him.
Oh, wow.
So he could sell you anything. He could market anything to you. That was a gift. But he attended Villanova where I work, and finished with his undergrad degree in finance and accounting, worked with several accounting firms. Now he works for a company called Auto Board, which is a auditing company that's based in technology. So he both sells that. He makes sure that they have the best of their software. He is traveling around with that, but also working out of home. These days, people work from their homes.
Yeah.
But also, he's made me a grandfather. I have a granddaughter.
Congratulations.
And he's been married, I guess, 3 or 4 years now.
Oh, okay.
So he's been married. I actually married them.
Man, how special is that, right?
That was wonderful. And they're just doing well. They're just doing well and growing as a family, and we support them whatever ways that we can. And then my daughter came after him to Villanova. And I know this will sound biased, but I did let them visit other colleges before they decided on Villanova, where I worked for 20 years. But she came in engineering, double major in computer and electrical engineering.
Brilliant.
She became, my quiet child, became the leader of the National Society of Black Engineers. She won all these famous awards and accolades for her work around the university. And then decided to go right into her doctorate program at Northwestern in Chicago. And so she did that during COVID, so I'm always appreciative that she didn't give up.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people just like in the midst of COVID, it's like, this is too much. I'm not going to do it. I said to her, well, another year is going to go by whether you like it or not. So why don't you just hang in there, and we visit her, encourage her. So she has a doctorate degree since December 2024. She's working for a computer science association. She's also pursuing professorships right now. So those of you who pray for Stephanie Jones, that she gets Dr. Stephanie Jones, that she gets a professorship at one of these universities. Right now, she's kind of looking out there in Chicago. I would love for her to come back this way, but whatever God's plan is, I'm going to submit.
I know, right? No, but that's just awesome. And I've always been impressed by, your education, your wisdom, your life, your lifestyle, your family, something that everybody should be encouraged by. I know I am, and I look up to you. I want to ask you this about your books, because I'm going to go back to that, because I believe that, that's how we actually met, through your literary works. So how can people get in contact with you and be able to even purchase the books and have you come and lecture?
Good. I'll say I love to do workshops, and now we do these webinars as well. But I have very interactive workshops. Of course, like you said, I can lecture, but my preference is to engage you, to get you doing things, interacting with one another, sharing strategies, because I think it just lasts longer when you're doing that. So I've done series. Some schools have brought me in and said, hey, we would like for you to do 5 seminars with our parents or 5 seminars with our students on various topics like time management or test-taking strategies or stress management, or sometimes they tell me a topic and I just create a workshop for them. But the schools would also use their Title I funds to purchase these books for their students, and also for their parents. So the study skills book for the students and the parents book for the parents, various workshops. And that would be an incentive for them to come. So I've done these seminars and workshops. Sometimes the school just wants them for their students, so they just purchase hundreds of thousands of them just for their students. So I've been blessed to sell over 40,000 of these books.
Wow.
And my goal is 1 million, but I'm blessed to do that. But to get the books, you can go 2 ways you can get the books, because now we have, different ways that we can get it. So you can actually go to my website, which is drjonesbooks.com. That's drjonesbooks.com. You can also use your Cash App, and you would have to send me, an email, and then I can give you my Cash App. So my email is stephenjonness@rcn.com. So if you do that, and then you also can call me at 610-842-3845. 643. And if you have after-school programs, a lot of schools have used this for their after-school programs, or they have early in the morning when students come in, they have that first session with their advisor or their teacher. They'll use it during that first session as well. There are many different ways that it can be implemented within a school or within an after-school program or early morning program. And the Study Skills book targets middle school, high school, and first-year college students or adult learners who want to learn how to study. A lot of adults who went to school many years ago didn't have good study habits back then, and now they're trying to go back to school. And so they'll purchase the book to work on their study habits, or if they're studying a class in their job and they want to improve their study habits, they'll get the book for that.
Yeah, well, there you have it, everybody. A man with a wealth of knowledge, Dr. Stephen Jones. But before we go, I have 2 questions. What does your statement, today you are planting seeds for tomorrow, what does that really mean?
Yeah, today is the opportunity. Each day is the opportunity that you've been blessed with. And take steps, that sometimes not big steps, but small steps. 1% improvement each day is leading to 30% improvement by the end of the month. So those small steps do lead to an opportunity. And don't say, well, I can't do it today. Get started. Trust that the desire that you have can happen. Use your words as power. The death and life are in the power of the tongue. So say those things that you want. Not the things that you don't want, but say the things that you want to happen in your life.
Wow. Listen, everybody, I got one more question for Dr. Jones. He's given us a lot of time today. But I want to say this. I want to ask this, actually. What legacy do you hope to leave for future generations of students?
It's almost a 2-part question. So, again, I've lived long enough that now my former students bring me their students to the programs that I host at Villanova. So my Saturday program, summer program. So I'm starting to see that next generation and what they're doing, if they're interested in engineering and science. But what I would like to leave with them is to continue this work. Not, that whenever I leave the university, that others will step in and make sure that this continues to happen at the university level and in their communities. And being a mentor, I just want to say this, being a mentor, even if you mentor one child, you don't know how many children that one person might save because you mentored them. Mentorship actually increases a child's chance of graduating from high school by over 85%.
Wow.
So that would be the other thing I would encourage others to be a mentor and to be a motivator of other young people.
Man, everybody, this is Dr. Stephen Jones, and he's with us today sharing so much of his knowledge, his life. And Dr. Jones, I just want to say thank you so much for being able to come on and just share with the public, because everybody needs to know that education is not hard to get and receive if you know the right people, if you hook up with the right folks that have been doing this, and not for 10 years, not for 20 years, not for 30 years, but 30 plus tax carry to one. And that's Dr. Stephen Jones. You want to give any shout outs to anybody before we go?
I want to give a shout out to my wife, that she's been faithful and encouraging me to continue to do this work. And I appreciate her all my life, for sure.
All right. Well, there you have it, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in to the Elements of Inspiration. We have more of podcasts coming up, of course. And as I say on the radio, don't touch that dial. But in this case, don't touch that podcast. Stay close.